She didn't change her life by adding something new. She didn't wake up earlier. She didn't buy a planner. She didn't start a new routine. She simply removed one habit. From the outside, it looked insignificant, almost harmless, something everyone around her did without thinking, something she had done for years. But that single habit was quietly draining her energy, her focus, her money, and her sense of control. She was always tired, always overwhelmed, always feeling behind. And no matter how much she tried to improve herself, life kept feeling heavier instead of lighter. Until the day she finally noticed what needed to go. Not more effort, not more discipline, less. Before we continue, like, subscribe, and share this video. It helps this message reach people who are tired of carrying unnecessary weight. Now, stay with the full story. Her name was Rachel Moore, and she was 34 years old. Rachel lived in Portland, Oregon, in a small apartment filled with things she didn't really use. Shelves crowded with objects that once felt necessary, drawers full of items she meant to organize one day. Her space wasn't dirty, just heavy, like her life. She worked as a project coordinator for a design firm. The job paid reasonably well, enough to cover rent, bills, and a little comfort. On paper, she was doing fine, responsible, independent, capable. But she felt constantly overwhelmed. Her days were packed. Meetings, emails, deadlines, errands, social obligations. Every hour had something in it, yet nothing ever felt finished. She went to bed tired and woke up tired, carrying the same mental weight from one day to the next. Rachel believed she needed to improve herself, so she added things. More apps to stay organized, more lists to stay productive, more commitments to stay relevant, more information to stay in control. Her phone buzzed constantly. Notifications, messages, reminders, news, offers. She responded quickly, afraid that silence meant falling behind. At night, she scrolled, not because she enjoyed it, but because stopping felt uncomfortable. The noise filled the space where her thoughts would have been. Rachel wasn't lazy. She was overloaded. Her weekends disappeared into catching up. Laundry, emails, rescheduling things she had postponed all week. She told herself this was adulthood, that everyone felt like this. But sometimes, standing in her kitchen surrounded by clutter and unfinished plans, she felt a quiet sadness she couldn't explain. Why did life feel so heavy when nothing was technically wrong? The answer wasn't obvious. She earned enough. She had no major crises. She wasn't failing. She was drowning in excess. Too many inputs, too many obligations, too many habits she had never questioned. And hidden among them was one silent habit she repeated dozens of times a day. A habit so normal it felt invisible. A habit that kept her life noisy, scattered, and exhausting. Rachel didn't know it yet, but her breakthrough wouldn't come from adding one more solution. It would come from subtraction. The habit wasn't dramatic. It wasn't destructive in an obvious way. It didn't look like a mistake. Rachel's invisible problem was constant digital checking. Her phone was the first thing she touched in the morning and the last thing she saw at night. In between, it never left her hand for long. Emails, messages, news, social media, notifications that promised importance but delivered noise. She told herself it was necessary, for work, for staying informed, for being available. But the truth was simpler. She was afraid of missing something. Every pause in her day became an opening for her phone, waiting in line, sitting on the couch, even walking from one room to another. Those small moments that once belonged to rest or thought were now filled instantly. The cost wasn't obvious at first. It showed up as mental fatigue, as difficulty focusing, as the feeling of always being behind, even when nothing urgent was happening.
Rachel never fully rested because her attention was never fully still. The breaking point came on a Sunday afternoon. She had planned to clean her apartment, reset for the week, and finally feel caught up. Instead, 3 hours passed in fragments: a little cleaning, a message reply, a scroll, an email, another scroll. When she looked around, almost nothing was finished. She sat down on the floor, surrounded by half-done tasks, and felt something tighten in her chest. Not frustration, recognition. She wasn't tired because life was hard. She was tired because her mind was never allowed to settle. Rachel opened her phone again out of reflex, then stopped. She noticed how automatic the movement was, how little choice was involved. The habit had taken control so quietly that she had never questioned it. That's when it hit her. This one habit was stealing her time in pieces, not hours at once, moments, hundreds of them. Moments that could have been used to finish things, to think, to breathe, to feel present. She wasn't overwhelmed by responsibility. She was overwhelmed by constant interruption. Sitting there on the floor, Rachel made a decision that felt small but frightening. She would remove the habit, not reduce it, not be more mindful. Remove it from the spaces where it did the most damage. No phone in the morning, no phone during transitions, no phone before bed. The idea scared her more than she expected. That fear told her everything she needed to know.
Rachel didn't call it detox. She didn't make rules for the entire day. She didn't announce anything to anyone. She followed one simple principle: remove what interrupts before trying to improve what matters. She started with clear boundaries, not ambition. The phone stayed out of the bedroom. She bought a simple alarm clock and left it on the nightstand. The first mornings felt strange, quiet, almost empty. But for the first time in years, she woke up without absorbing the emotions and urgency of the world before even standing up. She chose 3 protected moments in her day: morning, transitions, and night. In the morning, she did nothing productive at first. No emails, no messages, just coffee, silence, and a few minutes of breathing space. That space felt uncomfortable, then grounding. During transitions, she resisted the reflex, walking from one room to another, waiting for the elevator, standing in line. She let those moments stay empty, no filling them. At night, she stopped scrolling in bed. Instead, she prepared the next day, wrote down what truly mattered, and turned the light off earlier than usual. The rule wasn't about discipline, it was about protecting attention. At first, her mind fought back. She felt restless, bored, slightly anxious. She wanted the familiar pull of constant stimulation. But after a few days, something shifted. Her thoughts slowed down. She noticed things she hadn't noticed in years: the way light moved across the room, the difference between real fatigue and mental overload, the satisfaction of finishing one task fully. She didn't add productivity techniques, she removed noise. As the interruptions disappeared, her energy returned naturally. She finished cleaning her apartment without stopping halfway. She answered emails faster because she answered them in blocks instead of fragments. Her life didn't become intense, it became lighter. Rachel realized something important. She had been trying to build focus on top of chaos. That never works. Focus needs silence first. The habit she removed wasn't just about her phone. It was about the belief that she had to be reachable, informed, and responsive at all times. By removing that belief, she reclaimed something more valuable than time: presence. And that presence changed how everything else worked. The change didn't feel exciting. It felt calm. Rachel noticed it in small, quiet ways. Her mornings no longer started with tension in her chest. She woke up slower, but clearer. The day no longer attacked her the moment she opened her eyes. Her apartment began to change too.
Not because she cleaned more, but because she finished cleaning, one room at a time, no interruptions, no half decisions. The physical space reflected what was happening in her mind. Her work improved without extra effort. Meetings felt shorter, emails felt easier. She stopped multitasking and started completing. Tasks that once took all day now took focused hours. The most surprising shift was emotional. Rachel felt less rushed, even when she was busy. She stopped measuring her days by how much she reacted and started measuring them by what she intentionally completed. She also noticed how much money she used to spend impulsively while scrolling. Small purchases, ads she didn't remember clicking, subscriptions she forgot to cancel. With less screen time, those silent leaks slowed down naturally. She didn't try to save more, she just stopped being constantly stimulated. Her evenings became something she looked forward to instead of endured. She read, she rested, she went to sleep without her mind racing. Friends noticed she was less distracted, more present, more grounded. She listened fully. She didn't check her phone mid-conversation. When they asked what changed, she smiled and said, "Not much." That was true. She didn't become a new person. She removed a habit that had been draining her. And without that drain, everything else had room to breathe. Rachel realized that progress doesn't always come from effort. Sometimes it comes from relief. Relief from noise, relief from interruption, relief from the pressure to be everywhere at once. Her life didn't get bigger, it got lighter.
Rachel never became someone with a perfectly optimized life. She didn't chase peak performance. She didn't redesign her personality. She didn't add more systems. She simply stopped leaking energy. Looking back, she realized how misleading her old approach had been. Every time life felt heavy, she thought the answer was to add something new, a tool, a habit, a routine, a solution. But the weight had never come from what was missing. It came from what was unnecessary. The habit she removed wasn't dramatic enough to impress anyone. No one applauded her for using her phone less. No one noticed that her mornings were quieter or her nights more peaceful. And that was the point. Her life improved without performance, without announcements, without explanations, without validation. The silence gave her clarity. With fewer interruptions, she could finally hear herself think. With fewer inputs, she could tell what actually mattered. With fewer habits pulling at her attention, she had more energy for the things she chose intentionally. The moral became simple and impossible to ignore. Sometimes progress doesn't come from adding discipline. It comes from removing distraction. Rachel understood now that excess is not always visible. Sometimes it hides inside habits that look normal, modern, and harmless. Habits that fill every empty space and leave no room for rest. By removing one habit, she didn't lose anything important. She gained space. She gained calm. She gained control. Her life didn't become perfect. It became manageable. And manageability changed everything. If this story felt familiar, don't rush to add something new to your life. First, look for what's quietly draining you. Remove that. Then, let the rest fall into place. Before you leave, like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this message reach people who are tired of carrying unnecessary weight. And remember this advice. When life feels heavy, don't ask what you need to add. Ask what you need to let go of.